my expectation is he's full stop, all gas, no brakes. And Powell has to play ball. He has to come to Jesus, according to Trump. So I think there's going to be volatility. Now, in the long term, I expect Bitcoin to go to 250,000 to a million this year. I expect the dollar to be significantly weaker. In order for the United States to live out this vision and reindustrialize itself, it has to print a lot of money. And the only way out of its debt situation is by inflating it. It's the only way out. So long term, Bitcoin's going to the absolute moon. Short term, I expect it to be really volatile, and I expect Trump to be a bully. Bitcoin will easily be $1 million or higher in the next 5 years.
In light of Bitcoin's emergence as a major global financial power, Jack Mallers is leading a movement that is opposing the established banking system. By utilizing Bitcoin's Lightning Network, Jack Mallers, the CEO of Strike, is transforming payments and facilitating quick, inexpensive transactions globally. He feels that an economy that is genuinely global cannot be served by the antiquated and ineffective legacy financial system. Bitcoin is the answer, an open, decentralized monetary network that restores financial sovereignty as inflation erodes fiat currencies and governments turn to perpetual money printing. His outlook goes beyond mere conjecture. He believes that Bitcoin will be the payment, remittance, and economic empowerment of the future. Also, a quick reminder, only a small percentage of viewers are subscribed. If you enjoy deep dives into crypto and finance, hit that like button and subscribe. It's free and helps the channel grow. Now let's get back and hear what he has to say.
The big winner are scarce assets. The big winner are neutral assets. The big winner are world assets. Assets that everyone has access to that are neutral and can act as a reserve currency. The two candidates are obvious. It's either gold or Bitcoin. That's it. Now, I'd make the argument that gold already failed as a world reserve currency because in a digital economy of 8 billion people, you need trust in order for it to work. Gold cannot achieve transaction finality without trust. When I needed to exchange gold with my neighbor, gold works fine. Peer-to-peer, hand it right to my neighbor. Transaction finality, done. But if I need to use gold to book a flight online, if I need to use gold, make a remittance payment, when I need to use gold to order NFL tickets, I need to trust the financial institution. Gold cannot achieve transaction finality in today's economy, in today's world, without trust. If you trust governments, if you trust corporations, if you trust central banks, gold works great. But it's not the money of enemies anymore. It's gold centralized and it's too easy to manipulate. Listen, in a weaker dollar environment, Bitcoin's the best performer. Bitcoin absorbs the most value. I think the upside over the next year, 5 years, 10 years, 100 years for Bitcoin to be a major player as a neutral reserve asset for the world, you guys have to understand the Triffin's dilemma, like no country wants the world reserve currency. We have to move towards neutral reserve asset. Nobody wins in this environment. So when everyone's like, Trump's such an asshole, this is all about trade wars. No, it's not. It's not. It's about how do you unwind the World War II setup, post-World War II setup? How do you reshore production in the US so we're actually doing stuff? How do you weaken the dollar, inflate away our debt, and introduce global trade settlement that uses a neutral currency? And so when I'm saying the US should buy Bitcoin and Senator Lummis's Bitcoin Act, these are things like if the future of the world is neutral currencies, right now the US doesn't own any Bitcoin effectively. It's never purchased Bitcoin. It needs to get off zero because the odds that Bitcoin plays a role are far from nothing. But in summary, that's my interpretation of what's happening right now and what we're living through. I think Bitcoin is going to be very volatile. It's the only truly free market in the world. Okay. Think of Bitcoin like a truth machine. It is able to collect everyone's inputs. Everyone in the world can give Bitcoin an input. So it's the only thing that is pure truth. Pure truth. It doesn't close. It doesn't disallow anyone from having access. Bitcoin is pure truth. So it's always going to be first moving. It's always going to be volatile, but it's a truth machine. So I expect it to move a lot. I expect it to reflect a lot of the uncertainty that's in the world today. You have the president of the United States and the chairman of the Federal Reserve at odds. And that's going to take a second to iron out. I expect Trump to not be afraid to stress the financial system and impose his intentions on making his political promises real and forcing Powell to bend the knee. I do not think he's afraid to do that. I think if anything this weekend, he sent that message. He sent that message loud and clear. And the market is rebounding momentarily because he's paused tariffs, I guess. But my expectation is he's full stop, all gas, no brakes. And Powell has to play ball. He has to come to Jesus, according to Trump. So I think there's going to be volatility. Now, in the long term, I expect Bitcoin to go to 250,000 to a million this year. I expect the dollar to be significantly weaker. In order for the United States to live out this vision and reindustrialize itself, it has to print a lot of money. And the only way out of its debt situation is by inflating it. It's the only way out. So long term, Bitcoin's going to the absolute moon. Short term, I expect it to be really volatile, and I expect Trump to be a bully. I expect him to be a bully and say, this is the best thing for America, whether you like it or not. I need the Federal Reserve support. I need the dollar to weaken. It's the only way.
According to Jack Mallers, the price of Bitcoin may rise to between $250,000 and $1 million in the coming year. He thinks that significant changes in the economy, political choices, and the rising recognition that Bitcoin is the best neutral reserve asset will be the main drivers of this spike. Bitcoin will become increasingly more alluring as the U.S. debt crisis gets worse, not only to institutional investors, but also to sovereign wealth funds and even governments. According to Mallers, countries will begin accumulating Bitcoin as a hedge against the volatility of fiat money. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications for future Bitcoin, macroeconomic, and digital asset content before we go any further. Now, let's get into his powerful predictions.
But all this trade war or the Fed doesn't like where inflation is, so it's not moving rates. Yeah, all right. Okay. We'll see. Trump, Bessent, the U.S. government needs buyers of its debt immediately. It needs the Fed to do something like lower rates and re-enable banks to buy this debt. They can't right now. And he needs that ASAP. And listen, Trump can either have a mini financial crisis now or in 3 to 6 months. And play the political game, guys. Like, he has it now. He blames it on Jerome Powell. He blames it on the Democrats. He blames it on Biden. By the midterms and by re-election, nobody remembers. The more you wait, the more disadvantaged you are in the political game. I said it, don't want to be that guy. Don't want to be that guy that says I told you so. But I said last week, guys, I expect a lot of volatility, both to the up and to the down. There's a lot of uncertainty that has to be worked out. We're living through reorchestration of monetary relationships. We are living through the unwind of post-World War II and a new economic order. Huge deal. We're moving back to a world where nations use neutral assets to settle global trade and where everyone is forced or relied upon to produce real stuff for the real world. When Trump says America has great potential, we have so much oil and energy we haven't harnessed. We have so much food and production we aren't farming. He's saying America can produce a lot of stuff that the world would value, but we don't because we don't have to. This is what he's saying. And obviously his tone, he's trying to appeal to the Americans that are disgruntled, that are angry, that feel like they're victims. And this is just politics. But the reality is America, in their opinion, America helped everyone else get back on their feet by taking on the role of the world reserve currency. And, that's when Trump is saying we've helped everyone out and no one values us for it. He's saying that. Now, if you're other countries around the world, you're saying America took advantage of the fact that they were still on their feet after World War II and they collected all the gold deposits and became the world reserve currency. And they haven't done jack but print money and fight people when someone has something to say about it. But that's all that's happening. And I think before I die, we'll be in a totally new economic era, totally new economic order globally. I think we're moving back towards neutral assets. Nobody wants to be the world reserve currency. It's a sucker's game. It's a dead end. And the U.S. is finally saying, I give up. That's what's happening. And unfortunately, the Fed is saying, we're not political. Yes, you are. Off. Yes, you are. Off. We know Powell doesn't like Trump. We know Trump doesn't like Powell. We know that. We know that Powell started cutting rates leading up to the election, trying to get Kamala elected. And as soon as the election was over and Trump won, he paused. We know that. We know that. We know that, listen, guys, the US government has a record amount of debt to refinance, and Powell won't lower the rates to help them refinance it. This is the type of crisis I'm talking about. Trump needs the dollar to go down. He needs a weaker dollar if he's going to build a ton of stuff in this country, reshape, be competitive in our exports, he needs it, and he's not getting it. So that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Bitcoin's going to go to the absolute moon. I would not be surprised if nation states start aggressively accumulating Bitcoin, because there's not a 0% chance it plays a role in global trade settlement and neutral reserve currency status. There's no reason anyone, whether you're an individual, a family, a business, or a country, there's no reason anyone should own zero of it. There's zero reason for that. It is far riskier to own no Bitcoin than to own Bitcoin. In the short term, volatility. In the long term, this thing is going to tens of trillions of dollars of market cap within the next 5 years. You know, a Bitcoin will easily be $1 million or higher in the next 5 years. Easily.
The world is moving away from the US dollar as the primary reserve currency and toward neutral settlement assets like Bitcoin, according to Jack Mallers, who presents a striking picture of the changing global economic order. He clarifies that although the Federal Reserve is unlikely to lower interest rates to make the US government's debt more appealing, the government is in dire need of purchasers. In order to restore domestic production and make American exports competitive, Trump will have to force a weaker dollar, which leads to a political and economic disaster. According to Mallers, this is a component of a much more significant change, a restructuring of international financial ties. Because it's an unsustainable burden, he thinks the days of one nation controlling the world's reserve currency are ending. Countries are starting to understand that using a single currency is a sucker's game, particularly if it is administered by a government that is highly indebted. Rather, he sees a return to a system in which neutral assets are used to settle international trade, and Bitcoin is becoming a serious candidate for that position. Mallers anticipates greater institutional and governmental acceptance of Bitcoin as economic instability increases, since Bitcoin's long-term trend indicates that its market cap will reach several trillions of dollars. He contends that the risk of having zero Bitcoin significantly outweighs its volatility, due to growing demand from both people and nation-states seeking a stable, decentralized reserve asset. He believes Bitcoin will easily surpass $1 million per coin in the next 5 years. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications if you thought his viewpoint was helpful so you don't miss any updates. We'd love to know what you think about the future of cryptocurrency markets, so please share your ideas in the comments section. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the next video.